Welcome to EziTorque once again. This week, I give you my take on the Hilux. Joined by James and Curtis, or Curtis and James. We're back in the studio for the last time in 2020.
The first time in a long time we're all here.
Yes, it has been. It has been.
Yeah, and we did see some of your adventures in the weekend just gone, James.
Yes, the car came back in 2 pieces, except it was just a door handle that came off. But other than that, it was a very successful weekend.
That wasn't the delivery that came in
earlier,
was it?
Yeah, the delivery of a door handle. That was mine. I tried to
stuff.
keep that under the radar, but it slipped. But yeah.
So while you were actually doing four-wheel driving, Nick was pretending to do four-wheel driving.
I was, everybody, and you might have caught me in a Hilux. You wanted me to break it, and I didn't quite do that. But
It's in the slogan. They're meant to be unbreakable.
Would we say that your favourite component were the wheels?
well, I like those.
That was a pretty crazy patch of grass you parked on. You really emphasised the grass you were parked on.
I was pretty proud of myself. We drove down a dirt road to get there. There was grass. I needed to park it on there. Hey, I talked about things like ride height.
You did.
And for me, a Hilux.
Approach angle would have been good, but that's alright.
Approach angle.
Approach angle.
Okay, I'll keep that on in mind for next time.
So I know that actually before Nick drove and reviewed the Hilux, you drove it, James.
I did.
So while we've got a couple of minutes, what are some key four-wheel drive worthy facts about the Hilux?
Well, I don't have the actual height off the top of my head.
Yep.
But the approach angle of the Hilux is nice and high. That's going to change when you put a bull bar on, but when you buy one, you sort of have to know that you're going to lose a bit. The grille sits fairly high, and the stock suspension is pretty tall for, just out of the factory kind of just dual cab. The departure angle as well I found was really good, because usually I drive a dual cab myself, and out on the weekend there were a couple times I was dragging my tow hitch a little bit.
So that was going to be my question. We know that you're in the BT50, and for anyone that missed it, there's a couple of photos and a little video on our Eziway Car Club Instagram. Would the Hilux be able to do what you took your BT50 on over the weekend?
Absolutely, it definitely could. And I think across the board, with the new dual cabs that have come out, 90% of them come with a rear diff lock. Because I actually had to use mine a lot. I did a few rocky tracks up in the high country, and what the BT could do, definitely the Hilux could do. They're all coming out of the factory with some pretty unreal running gear, and I think it gets really washed and swept under the rug by a lot of full drivers, because as soon as we get the car, we scrap half the stock stuff and we put different stuff in. But I think out of the box, you could take that a long way away. Put a dual battery in it and some all-terrains, and you're pretty sweet.
So it ticks the four-wheel drive boxes.
Absolutely.
Well,
Nick,
for me,
it looked like it ticked the family boxes.
it did, and I definitely looked at it in a different light. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not going to pretend that I know my things about four-wheel drive. I know it's got wheels.
Funny to watch.
I know it's got height. I know it's got chrome, and more chrome.
It had a side step for you.
It had a side step for me to be able to get into. But for me, it was a good alternative to the SUV. You see so many more dual cab utes on the road, and you see them, and you can clearly tell that they're not a tradie car every day.
Yeah.
That they're not the car that people will take away for them to do exactly what you did, but they do want a bit more versatility out of a car that they have to carry the family around in. And I think that things like the Hilux, like the BT50, can do that, because you can pop your tow bar on them. 3500 braked on the Hilux means that you've got a caravan, no problem, a boat, no problem, jet skis, that's as easy as horse. Yeah, exactly. And
the benefit as well, you can move you can move things around, you can chuck stuff in the tub. I think it's, for you, I was excited for you to drive it, because they're not cowboy rough pigs like four-wheel drives used to be.
Yeah.
Especially from when you were around, because the ones I grew up with
back in the day.
Back in the day with the old GQs and that. But they're generally like cars, and I was surprised as well by how smooth it was. Like, because I drive a manual, and jumping into an auto was like, it just blew my mind. Because I wasn't changing gears, but it genuinely felt like a car on the road, but it felt like a four-wheel drive off the road. I thought that was pretty awesome.
With it being automatic, do you lose any capability off the road?
Look, in different situations,
subject to user.
It's subject to user and subject to different situations. If I was in the dunes, say if I went up to Fraser Island, I don't really want an auto, because the way that your transmission engages, you have to build up pressure, and it's going to give you a lot of go in the sand. It's going to bog you down a bit, but in a manual you control it using the clutch. But I think full drives, people that go full driving for the hard tracks and stuff like that will always go on manual.
Yeah.
Just because you can choose your gears a bit better and it's a bit, you feel the car more, but still, like, we went away with a guy in an MP300 Navara that was auto, and it was fine. Like, no dramas. He didn't have a sore left leg when we got to campsite.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is I wouldn't imagine that a beginner four-wheel drive driver would go in an environment where they would have to have a manual. They'd start in an environment that they could get away with it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Because if you're not used to it and you don't trust your ability in a manual, when you're going up hills that you take your foot off the brake and you got to pull the clutch in and you start rolling backwards, like, that's one thing in an auto that you're never going to worry about.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think if you're a beginner and you want to get into sort of the rougher side of stuff, I think it'd be great. And I think in a Hilux, they're pretty tough. Like, those things are bulletproof. So if you're trying to get into it, I think it's definitely the car to do it. It's definitely one of the front runners this year. I think Isuzu has a really good dual cab. I think we're going to get hands on one of those soon.
Yep.
But the Hilux was unreal.
Well, in last week's episode, Nick and I spoke a little bit about the cars that particularly I wanted to have a look at next, and I think we were going to put a poll out about getting some audience feedback. What are some of the other dual cabs on the top of your list that we might try and review in 2021? And then again, we'll see which ones top the audience list.
I'd love to get my hands on a Raptor because I just want to see how that 2-litre bi-turbo actually drives. Because I know the running gear under it's pretty good, like the suspension it runs and the fact that it's a bigger ute. I wouldn't mind, as much as I really don't like them, I want to drive the new Jeep Gladiator, the dual cab.
Have you heard of a Jeep Gladiator?
I have.
Oh, I'd never heard of one.
Sheesh, it's the Jeep's dual cab. So they
Is that the first one?
Yeah, first one ever. So I want to. Yeah,
Right.
I'm a bit tentative because I feel like I'll die in it because they haven't worked out kinks yet. But I do want to give it a crack. And the Isuzu, because the hype around that thing is insane. Like,
what about the new BT50?
it hurts my soul. I'm not a massive fan of it. I'll drive it.
The look?
Yeah, I just feel like it's a lifted CX-5. Like, it just.
Yeah, I've heard CX-9 from the front.
Yeah,
and
literally,
just like cut off halfway.
Yeah, it's like a chopped CX-9.
Yeah.
And the inside of it, like the Hilux, there's one thing that I did like about the Hilux. Getting into a 2021 dual cab, I didn't want to feel like I was in a spaceship because I don't. When you're in the bush and you're going through tracks and your car's messy and dusty, like if you looked at my car right now, it's still not where it should be. You don't want to do that to a really flashy car.
To a nice new car.
But the Hilux had a little bit of a rugged feel, but a comfy feel. But the BT50, I mean, we haven't had it, so I shouldn't talk that bad about it. But it just looks very mum car, or just very. It does. Like in that, like that's the only way I can explain it. It just looks very.
Too pretty to get
too pretty, yeah, literally. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, they're very nice, but just too nice.
For what you're thinking.
Which is different because, you know, if Nick is a bit softer than me, like if he wanted to drive around a dual cab to move his what did you have in the back of the Stinger? You had some cooktop thing.
Oh yeah, which we haven't used yet. That's my
if that's your kind of, if that's your jam, then it would be perfect because they look schmick inside. Like it's very, very nice.
And I think that's what the manufacturers are aiming for. They're aiming for that alternative kind of vehicle for the SUV because there is a market like that.
The danger of that though is that their prices are jacking up like crazy. Like I'm pretty sure the average price jump from 2020 to 2021 in like the SR5 sort of range was about $6,000 across all manufacturers, and they're making it more like cars, but the price tag is definitely coming along with it. So it's sort of weighing up value for money, and also you want the tins and bits in the car.
Would it be fair to say that the SR is aimed at someone that's probably going to go four-wheel driving with it, more your tradie, and the SR5 is then aimed at the project manager of a building site, maybe someone with a family, someone that wants to use it as an alternative to an SUV. We've got an SR within the Eziway fleet. That's our original coffee cart, and I've done a lot of Ks in that. That was a manual. It's a very comfortable car to drive, but you're very right. Well, the auto is beautiful.
Yeah, my BT50 is pretty much, I can't remember the actual model. It's pretty much the SR of the BT50s, but I think Toyota's got starts at the workmate, and you wouldn't drive that more than an hour a day because they're rough. But the SR is probably your best bet, value for money. You get the gear, but it's not too expensive and too flashy. But yeah, you're exactly right.
Well, I think this means that we can have a conversation about a topic that is close to my heart, and that is modified versus stock.
Okay.
And we can do it over four-wheel drives, we can do it over hatches, and we can do it over V8s.
Okay.
But that's something for 2021.
I think so.
How does that sound?
Yep.
And I think our viewers could probably help us put together a bit of a poll and see which ones they want to see first. So maybe a couple of, hot hatches, maybe a couple of four-wheel drives, and
stock four-wheel drive,
and then we can talk about the doof sound systems that I put into cars in the 90s, of course.
Yeah.
But
well, if doof the only thing you're bringing to the modified table, I think you're gonna have to step it up a little, Nick.
no, I think we can work it out.
Okay,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
shiny wheels as well.
Chrome.
That's it.
Lots of chrome.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But 2020's been a fair bit of fun.
Absolutely.
2021's going to be a whole lot more fun, and we're going to come to you with a whole lot more content, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And I think while we're having a little bit of a break over the holidays to plan out 2021, I think we might show some of the bloopers and some of the bits in this room that we stuffed up and didn't quite make it to the final.
Believe it or not, we're not professional podcasters.
No, there was plenty of stuff ups. So look out for that over the next couple of weeks as well.
Yes, I think that they'd be far more entertaining.
I think so.
You're going to thoroughly
A lot of
enjoy
the
the
stuff
introductions to the show.
Pumped out. So thank you very much for joining us for 2020. We look forward to seeing you in 2021, and EziTorque will be back.
Thank you.
Catch you later, guys.
Thank you.